Panic in Harbor East after reports of shots fired inside the movie theater there. What we're learning about the investigation tonight. Car thefts and attempts continue across the state with the latest victim in Reisterstown. How a trio of targeted cars could be connected. Lawmakers will meet in Annapolis tomorrow for a third hearing on juvenile crime. Why pressure is building to find a solution.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 6.
Multiple calls, 645 President Street. They heard shots in theater number 3. Multiple calls coming in.
That dispatch audio from BPD Central District around 10 o'clock Saturday night revealing a slew of 911 calls after gunshots are heard inside Harbor East cinemas. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Mary Bubala. Almost 48 hours later and no new details from Baltimore police about what exactly happened in that theater this weekend. The incident prompted a heavy police response to the movie theater along President Street. So far, police only telling us they responded to investigate shots fired inside that theater, saying there were no injuries and have no information on a suspect. Dispatch audio also reveals at least one officer said they were responding to the scene with a rifle, but police will not confirm that or provide any details on what happened. Fox 45 spoke with a woman who said she was inside the cinema that night. Here's how she described the aftermath.
The movie had just ended and the lights came up and security just ran in and said, "There's been a shooting, everyone get out." And we were like, what's going on? What's happening? And so we just started shuffling out as best as we could. And in the lobby, there was security everywhere and kind of just chaos.
We sent questions to BPD today, including how many shots were fired, how many suspects they're looking for, and if they plan to release surveillance images. The department spokesperson said there are no new updates today, and they'll send a media advisory when there's new information to share. Breaking news out of City Council, a resolution from Councilman Yitzi Schleifer condemning anti-Semitism has failed. The resolution is in response to what the councilman called rising anti-Semitism in Baltimore and around the nation in the wake of the Israeli-Hamas war. In the end, too many council members abstained for the resolution to pass. Stay with Fox 45 News. Keith Daniels will have a live report on the decision coming up at 10.
It means that I don't have a holiday coming. They need to put some cameras up around here or something.
A Reisterstown man is one of the latest victims of attempted car theft in Baltimore County as ongoing car thefts continue across the state. Fox 45's Amy Simpson has details from Reisterstown, where police are investigating if a trio of targeted Hyundais and Kias are connected.
I came home Friday evening, parked my car, went in the house.
It's not the way he wanted to wake up over the weekend.
Saturday morning, like about 5 o'clock in the morning, police knocked on my door.
This Reisterstown man not showing his face or using his name.
Can't get a break.
But wanting to share his story.
Police says probably the kids, you know what I mean? They're the ones that's going around stealing cars.
Along Tarragon Road in Reisterstown, police confirming 2 attempted car thefts over the weekend. A third incident just around the corner on Franklin Road. This man's Kia, one of the cars targeted.
But it was a lot of glass over here. It's still glass over here.
His back window is gone, covered in a black trash bag. Shards of glass littering his back seat. The car's ignition also a mess.
But I was trying to get it, you know what I mean? Because if they get into the wires, I mean, they can probably hot shot it or something.
Then walking us over to see another car parked nearby.
That's a Kia. This is a Hyundai.
This red Hyundai, also with its back window covered in plastic.
See, they did the same thing to this. I didn't see this. But just like my wheel was, my steering wheel, theirs is the same way.
According to Baltimore County Police data, there have been at least 4,100 attempted and successful auto thefts so far in 2023, a 190% increase from the year before. This man, now a part of that statistic.
Just one thing after another. you know.
We asked what this kind of expense means this close to the holidays.
It means that I don't have a holiday coming.
Yet somehow, despite the damage, his ignition still starts.
I can start it, and I can get it where I gotta take it.
But instead of heading off to work today, he's headed to get the car fixed up, but with a warning for other vulnerable drivers.
Get to the club and the software that they're supposed to, put on it.
In Reisterstown, Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
And as victims demand changes to laws, we're looking ahead to tomorrow's hearing in Annapolis, where state leaders will meet for a third time to work out a plan addressing juvenile crime. Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost reports.
Members of a House committee will meet in Annapolis tomorrow for the third hearing to address juvenile crime. With just over a month before the next session begins, the pressure continues to build for lawmakers to find a solution to this problem impacting communities across the state. This fall, members of a House committee have met twice.
If a crime clearly has occurred, we should allow our officers to take action, and it's frustrating to the community that we cannot.
They see no reason to stop committing crimes because we are giving them no reason not to.
To talk about more and more young people finding themselves either suspects or victims of violence. The issue catapulting in the center of the debate earlier this year after a new law preventing kids 13 and younger from facing nonviolent misdemeanor charges took effect. Another law requires an attorney to be present during questioning of juveniles by law enforcement. Soon, prosecutors from around the state started speaking up and pushing lawmakers to make change.
A revolving door, the same juvenile offenders over and over again.
You can protect the child and also protect society. If we deter that communication, we inhibit our ability to address crime.
If we don't do something to hold these young people accountable, they will continue to run and almost have lawlessness in our cities. And we can't have that.
House Judiciary Committee Chairman Luke Clippinger, a Democrat from Baltimore City, previously telling Fox 45 News he was interested in looking at probation as an area for potential change.
Previous law said that they could be on probation until they're 21. The current law depends on whether it's a misdemeanor or a felony. It basically is up to a year for a misdemeanor and up to 2 years for a felony. I think we might take another look at those.
But so far, no concrete plans from Democratic lawmakers to address the concerns, the same lawmakers who control both chambers in the State House. Meanwhile, Delegate Robin Grammer, a Republican from Baltimore County, sits on the committee. He's been pushing for bigger changes and says the two previous committee hearings have been beneficial, but it's time to see action.
People have to, frankly, stop playing so close to the chest and start having real discussions about this issue.
Recent polling from the Gonzalez Research shows voters are looking for a change when it comes to juvenile justice laws.
What we found statewide, 59% of Marylanders say we need a strict approach. 35% said a more moderate approach.
It's just not clear if or how lawmakers in Annapolis will decide to tackle the problem. The hearing is scheduled to begin 1 o'clock Tuesday afternoon in Annapolis. In the newsroom, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
The race for Maryland's open Senate seat heating up over the weekend. Following a fiery debate between the top two candidates on Sunday, new polling shows Representative David Trone pulling ahead of Prince George's County Executive Angela Alsobrooks, according to a recent poll commissioned by Hickman Analytics, which surveyed 1,000 Democratic voters. 86% said they had heard the name David Trone, while only 73% recognized Angela Alsobrooks. The poll also found 55% of voters have a favorable opinion of Trone, compared to 49% for Alsobrooks. And if the election were held today, 41% say they would vote for Trone and 35% say they would vote for Alsobrooks. Political analyst John Deedy says primary elections often come down to name recognition.
I'm surprised by the results because Alsobrooks has a lot of party people behind her. She has the strong party endorsements from a lot of people. But Trone has done the one thing. He has spent money to a point where he has name identification. Alsobrooks needs to do something, and her campaign needs to do something to better get her name out there than have a bunch of endorsements.
The candidates are vying for Ben Cardin's open seat after he announced his plan to retire earlier this year. The primary is scheduled for May 14th next year.
U.S. support for Ukraine could soon come to a halt. I'm Atra El-Nashar with why Congress can't agree on a path forward.
And I'm Wyatt Everhart. A mild day across Maryland. Beautiful start to the week. However, a few fair weather clouds giving way to more active weather as we go into the middle part of the week. We'll talk about our next weather maker coming up after the break.
Congress has to decide whether to continue to support the fight for freedom in Ukraine as part of the 50-nation coalition that President Biden has built, or whether Congress will ignore the lessons we've learned from history and let Putin prevail. It is that simple. It is that stark a choice.
The White House issuing a warning to Congress. If they don't act quickly, the U.S. will soon run out of ways to help Ukraine fight off Russia's invasion. Democrats and Republicans are at odds about whether Ukraine aid should be conditional on new U.S. border policy. Sinclair National Correspondent Atra El-Nashar joins us live from Capitol Hill with the very latest. Good evening, Atra.
Hey, good evening, Mary. Talks on this issue to try and find a compromise among a key group of Democrats and Republicans appears to have hit a significant snag over the weekend, and it's raising doubts about whether they can come to an agreement before Ukraine runs out of weapons.
We are out of money and nearly out of time. The White House issuing those blunt words to congressional leadership Monday in yet another plea to approve more funds for Ukraine.
A vote against supporting Ukraine is a vote to improve Putin's strategic position. That's just an inescapable reality.
There is enough support in both parties to approve the aid, but Republicans have a condition.
If you want aid to Ukraine, we need to control our southern border. Reform asylum, reform parole is possible to do. Democrats don't want to do it. All Republicans want to do it.
Democrats back President Biden's proposal that includes additional asylum officers, immigration judges, and border agents, and argue what Republicans want would deny protection for vulnerable people without actually improving the border crisis.
Making things even more complicated is the fact that Congress is under another tight deadline to fund the federal government by early next year. And the growing national debt, nearing $34 trillion, puts any new spending under the microscope.
Outside groups, even some members of Congress, calling for a bipartisan fiscal commission to identify ways to pay down the debt. Billionaire hedge fund manager Ray Dalio among those urging policymakers to pay attention to the cost of high interest rates.
The longer term is that we are at a point in which we are borrowing money to pay debt service. And as that happens, and you want to keep spending at the same level, there is the need to get more and more into debt.
So as you can see, lawmakers have to decide, and soon, if any new spending on Ukraine, the southern border, or Israel and Taiwan is worth the cost now to avoid a costlier conflict down the road.
And Atra, what has the White House said about how this could impact other countries' assistance to Ukraine?
Right, because keep in mind, the U.S. has by far been the world leader in Ukrainian support. The White House said today, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said if the U.S. fails to act in time to get new weapons to Ukraine before the end of the year, it could discourage other allies who've otherwise been supportive of the cause to also scale back. The U.S. isn't the only country with economic issues, with inflation, with high deficits. And what's striking, I think, about that comment from Sullivan, Mary, is the fact that before today, the White House was not entertaining the possibility of the U.S. failing to act in time. They said it's just something that has to be done. So the fact that they're saying that now, I think, is really telling of the faith that they're losing perhaps in lawmakers to do this in time. But Sullivan also says if Congress fails to act, they will still encourage allies to keep up their support.
All right, Atra El-Nashar for us tonight on Capitol Hill. Thank you. Meanwhile, some progressive lawmakers and Democrats are demanding conditions for aid to Israel, with Senator Bernie Sanders leading the charge. Sanders is warning President Biden that any new aid should come with assurances from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to limit civilian casualties in the ongoing war in Gaza. Now, this comes as some Democrats push for a permanent ceasefire.
I do think it's realistic. I think what we saw is after, many weeks of saying we couldn't get to a ceasefire, that was not going to happen. We did have a temporary ceasefire, and what happened? We were able to see a significant number of hostages released. We were able to get humanitarian aid into Gaza.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken blames Hamas for the end of the truce, saying the militant group went back on its side of the deal. According to Gaza's Ministry of Health, more than 15,000 Palestinians have been killed since October 7th.
All right, after spending much of the day in the 50s out there, still a pretty nice Monday evening around Baltimore. 48 degrees right now at BWI on a light northwesterly breeze. That dry breeze has been a welcome change from all the humidity, mist, and rain over the weekend. Just a mess, just a washout. None of that today and this evening. The city's still at 52 balmy degrees, relatively speaking, so really not bad for early December. And the radar all clear right now. You'll notice to the west, we do have a winter weather advisory for Deep Creek Lake and Garrett County. That is for tomorrow night and the first thing Wednesday morning, as we see a wintry weather maker edging its way into the state. Could bring a few wintry showers to Baltimore itself, possibly first thing Wednesday morning. More on that in a second. Right now, you can see the closest snow is up here in the northern New England states, and not a concern for us unless you're traveling that way. A chilly night, ultimately down in the mid-30s by first thing tomorrow morning, but overall quiet and clear. And looking ahead, it's another clear Tuesday around here. But then that wintry system edging in overnight Tuesday night into early Wednesday morning. So the Wednesday morning commute, especially for commuters going west of Baltimore, certainly there could be an impact there. Cold shot will then also be the story midweek with that system. Take a look here, just a few clouds draped across the state right now. Fair weather clouds, no precipitation. We'll start out with a bright note, I think, on Tuesday morning. Looks pretty good throughout the day on Tuesday, but look carefully here to the west as we go into Tuesday night. That is our next weather maker. Clipper system, decent amount of moisture, mixed showers to the west, but watch what happens overnight Tuesday and the first thing Wednesday morning. The system starts to lose a lot of its moisture into the mountains of the west. So basically, I think a few mixed showers possible overnight Tuesday into Wednesday morning, but then we're looking good overall. And the pattern, again, showing clear weather throughout the day tomorrow. It's ultimately this weather maker, Alberta Clipper system, that doesn't pack a lot of moisture to begin with. That'll be diving southward, and again, that'll be the main thing that impacts us toward Wednesday morning. And It'll also be dragging in some of this colder air that's poised over the northern part of the country. So you can see the change down into the 40s for highs Wednesday and on Thursday before we warm things up into the later part of the week here. You see the trend? Again, that cold shot comes in with those potential mixed showers Wednesday morning, but then we're back into the upper 50s, even a chance for 60 on Sunday. Also looks like rain is going to be pretty likely for the Ravens game on Sunday afternoon. Back to you.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
An atmospheric river is taking aim at the Pacific Northwest. It kicks into high gear tonight, bringing plenty of rain along with a threat of flooding through much of the week. Up to a foot of snow fell across northern New England. It was perfect for snowball making, for dogs to play in, and for owls to quietly watch over everything. And mammatus clouds made for cool pictures over Manchester, Tennessee.
Do they have the votes? I'm Christine Frizzell with why Republicans say they may now be able to make the impeachment inquiry into President Biden official.
Lawmakers return to Washington today, and as they work to wind down the year, top Republicans will be laser focused on their investigation into President Biden and his son Hunter. And while they've already launched an unofficial impeachment inquiry, there are some new signs they could make it official any day now. Sinclair national correspondent Christine Frizzell has the latest.
Merry Christmas, everyone. Have a seat if you'd like.
President Joe Biden in full holiday swing, as his detractors on Capitol Hill insist there's no time for cheer, pushing forward with their intent to hold him accountable for his role in his son's business dealings.
Throughout our extensive investigation and from the lips of credible witnesses, it is abundantly clear that the Biden family business is Joe Biden.
Previously unable to make the impeachment inquiry official, top Republicans say some of the previous holdouts may have now changed their votes. since returning home for Thanksgiving.
So they heard from their constituents, yes, we want you to move forward. We want to know the truth, and we expect the Bidens to be held accountable for public corruption.
Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer insists that corruption stems from business deals Hunter Biden had with companies based in China and Russia, which included millions of dollars in payments disguised as loans.
Hunter Biden now says he will testify about his business deals following a subpoena to appear December 13th, but that he will only do so publicly, accusing Republicans of distorting the facts. The back and forth now reaching a boiling point.
In a letter, Republicans expressed appreciation that Hunter Biden is willing to testify on December 13th, but demanded his testimony occur in a deposition setting where there are no time limits.
This is a credible, substantive investigation. We're going to have the deposition, and that's the difference in asking 35 questions versus asking 600 or 700 questions.
White House spokesman Ian Sams calling it an attempt to smear President Biden with lies, which reflects how the House GOP is focused on the wrong priorities, as other Democrats on the committee agree.
This is a tinfoil hat committee of just a bunch of conspiracy theorists with zero evidence.
Still, Speaker of the House Mike Johnson says a vote to formalize the impeachment inquiry could come as soon as this week. I'm Christine Frizzell reporting.
All right, let's break down the timing here. We'll show you the 10-day forecast, but this is the timing of that clipper coming in, looking good tomorrow. But then as we go into tomorrow night, Wednesday morning, that clipper system edges in, and that's where we have a chance for at least a few wintry showers around here early in the day on Wednesday. Here's the rest of the outlook. Colder into Thursday, then we trend milder. Friday, Saturday, into Sunday, good chance for rain for the Ravens game. And then as we look ahead to early next week, pretty seasonable into the low 50s.
Well, finally tonight, if you're looking for some holiday cheer, you don't have to go very far. Frederick, Maryland was voted America's 26th most Christmassy town, according to a new survey by Mixbook. They asked 3,000 Americans which towns exude the most Christmas charm. Coming in the top spot, Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, followed by Durango, Colorado, Lake Placid, New York, Stowe, Vermont, and Alexandria, Virginia. Frederick wasn't the only Maryland city, by the way, to make the cut. Bethesda also made that list, coming in 34th. Well, that's all for Fox 45 News at 6. Family Feud's up next. We'll see you back here for the news at 10 tonight. Thanks for watching. Good night.